Hi guys, welcome to week 7 of e-learning, and this week we're going to be focusing on understanding an author's point of view. So what will we exactly be doing this week? The first thing you're going to do is read a short passage. You're going to break down that passage with some short answer questions, and then you're going to move into determining the author's point of view, doing a journal, right, and answering some discussion questions. It's not too bad. The reading this week is really short, so I think that will be something that's very accessible and make this more interesting for you. So what are you reading this week? You're reading the article, Teenage Brains Are Malleable and Vulnerable, Researchers Say, by John Hamilton. The reading discusses the development of the teenage brain. Some more information you might need to understand the article is that Hamilton addresses research that has been done in the past, but also some new information related to the development and functioning of the teenage brain. Some key terms that you need to understand for this week is point of view. So the point of view in informational text is the perspective of the author on the topic. So we have been focusing mainly on informational texts during this online learning time. So we're specifically focusing on point of view in informational texts, and that is the perspective of the author on the topic. It is the way the author helps the reader understand what he or she thinks about the topic. And that's the big stuff that you need to know. And we're just going to jump into going over the assignment now so that you guys can get started and on your merry way. So our assignment here, as always, has our objectives, some vocabulary you may need to know, and then we jump into preview concepts. So this is always the section where they try to connect you to the text. So they ask you some questions that are based on like your opinion or your personal experience, and you answer them to the best of your ability in the right-hand column. Make sure that you are writing in full sentences so that you can get full credit on all of those. After that, they have you jumping right into the text. So their objective for you, as you read, they want you to highlight the new research mentioned in the article that contributed to earlier research done on teenagers' brains. So once again, they want you focusing on that new information that the author is providing. In the My Thoughts column, write a summary of what you understand from the text. All right, so we don't need a summary of every paragraph, and as you can see, some of them are very short. But like after you read 2 or 3 paragraphs or like sections of the text, write a summary of what you're understanding and what you're taking away. It just makes it a lot easier when you go on to answer the questions. So you're going to read through your passage, and we're going to move into the first questions. They're going to ask you, what is the purpose of this passage? Who do you think is the target audience? And then just an opinion question. Did you like the article? Why or why not? So just a couple questions for you to answer related to what you read. Once you've done that, they do want you to revisit your text, and they want you to highlight and underline 3 or 4 sentences from the passage that you think communicate the main idea of that paragraph. This should say passage, I think. Passage. All right. They are not looking because the paragraphs are all really short, so they just want you to find 3 or 4 instances or examples from the text that reiterate the main idea of the passage. Then, once you've done that, they want you to really come up with the actual main idea of the text. So, they're going to ask you, in the space below, write a summary of what the text was about. Then they move into other comprehension questions. So why does the author begin by talking about what people commonly think of teenagers as brains? How does it help the author gain the interest of the reader? And then finally, they want you determining the main idea of the passage. So what is the main idea of this passage? How does the author share their message with the reader? Does the author effectively share their message with the reader? So there are a couple questions there, so make sure you answer all of them, and then you'll be on your way to determining point of view. All right, so the passage talks about different ways that teenagers are viewed based upon research conducted over various years. However, the author clearly has an underlying opinion about teenagers. Although he doesn't come right out and say it, the reader can infer the writer's opinion or his point of view about teenagers and their brains. So what they want you to do is to come up with some positive descriptions about teenagers and research about teenagers, and then negative descriptions about the research related to teenagers' brains and the description of teenagers. So they're just looking for ways that you can like have a positive connection to what the author is saying and negative connections. So for example, if they describe how negatively teenagers are because they have attitudes and whatever stereotypes go along with teenagers, that's what would go here. If they talk about how teenagers are often overwhelmed and this results in X, Y, and Z, that would go in positive descriptions. Once you've completed that evidence hunt, you're going to tell us what the author's point of view is. So the author's point of view about teenagers is blah, blah, blah. All right? And that's just completing the sentence. Once you've completed that, they want you moving into a journal write. So they're going to ask you, why is it important that we understand someone's point of view when they are writing? How can this be connected or applied to the world around us today? And explain your thoughts in 4+ sentences. So our goal really is to just connect this overarching idea of point of view and the value of it to your everyday life. Once you've done that, we have some discussion questions at the end. So they're just asking you some more questions related to the text, and they want you to answer them to the best of your ability in 2 or more sentences. Once again, the big takeaway is just making sure you're writing in full sentences. This isn't a very long reading or even long assignment. It's barely 4 pages. So we're really going to be looking for your spelling and grammar. So make sure you're on top of that this week. All right. And if you need any help, you know where to find me. Please ask. I would love to help you. Have a great week.